morning, and welcome to Rising. What else? We've got a great show for you today. We are having fun, aren't we, this week?
We are.
I am better rested this morning than I was yesterday, so maybe that will improve my mood and my behavior.
And from Monday to now,
respect to you.
Thank you. I would appreciate that. And from Monday to now, your voice actually came back in full effect.
Yes, I am done being silenced by my own activities at bars.
But you're going into the weekend again, so you might lose it again for Monday. We'll see. Hopefully not. Coming up on Rising, a federal grand jury this week refused to indict 6 congressional Democrats over a video they made urging service members to disobey illegal orders.
Plus, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the reason the FAA closed El Paso's airport was due to Mexican cartel drones breaching U.S. airspace, but other outlets are reporting there may be another reason. Is it aliens?
Maybe. And after almost 90 years, Gallup will no longer measure presidential approval ratings. I was surprised to hear that. But Robby, first, what's on your radar?
Well, Representative Thomas Massie is demanding answers from Attorney General Pam Bondi and others whom he says are still hiding the truth of the Epstein files from the public. In an interview with Zach Weissmuller, my colleague at Reason Magazine, Massie explained why he is willing to have this fight even if it costs him his job in Congress. Take a look.
Politician in my state who is President Trump. Obviously, it'd be a whole lot easier politically to get reelected if I just did what he wanted and ignored the Epstein files and called them a hoax. But I'm not willing to do that. You know, I've met with the survivors. This is personal to me now. And so, you know, it's true that my political career is on the line, my political life, but my own health and well-being could very well be too. I've upset a lot of billionaires who obviously aren't of high moral character and have done some really shady stuff.
Massie is one of the most libertarian-leaning members of Congress and also the foremost advocate, along with Representative Ro Khanna, of releasing the Epstein files. He's regularly made appearances alongside purported survivors of Epstein and demanded the Department of Justice provide information on sexual abusers who participated in Epstein's crimes. Massie and Khanna accused the feds of failing to properly disclose documents relating to Epstein, which is a violation of the law, either due to incompetence or maliciousness. Now, it seems clear that unlike so many other political actors who've taken up the cause of Epstein disclosure for self-serving partisan reasons, namely a quest to disparage the reputations of either the Clintons or Donald Trump, depending on one's own partisan valence, Massie and Khanna are engaged in a sincere effort to arrive at the truth. Their complaints that DOJ has mishandled Epstein transparency are well taken. Attorney General Pam Bondi previously claimed she had the Epstein client list sitting on her desk. In Epstein parlance, this was taken to mean that there was a list of elite political figures, academics, and businessmen for whom Epstein procured underage girls. But no such document has ever been released, and FBI Director Kash Patel subsequently stated that there is no one else involved in Epstein's sex crimes. Most people demanding more answers about Epstein have alleged a vast and sinister conspiracy involving not just Epstein, but other powerful abusers. At yesterday's House Judiciary hearing, lawmakers accused Bondi of failing not just Epstein's victims, hundreds of young women victimized by Epstein, and his associates. Now, if there are other men who sexually abused underage girls, the public ought to know about it. But that remains an open question since none of the files substantiate that idea that Epstein procured underage girls for a cabal of sexual abusers. Files do, however, reveal the names of people who met with Epstein, who took money from Epstein, or who continued to email with Epstein over the years. These people are not accused of crimes. In many cases, the idea that the named individual did something particularly bad seems to spring from a misconception. In other words, releasing the files has resulted, in my view, in some real-world harms for undeserving people. One of those folks is a man named Mark Tramo. Tramo is an associate adjunct professor of neurology at the University of California, Los Angeles. Whether he will remain in that position is unknown. A sign-wielding woman has reportedly camped herself outside the building where he works and has demanded that UCLA fire him. What was Tramo's crime? Nothing. No one accused him of any crime whatsoever. His moral failing, according to his critics, is that he emailed Epstein with some frequency over the years, including about his scientific research in areas of academic interest. In one such email, he mentioned reading a study that found, quote, a newborn will suck on a pacifier more vigorously if the baby hears his own mother's voice rather than some other woman's. Judging by the reaction on X, social media users found that email highly incriminating. It's what the woman with the sign was referencing when she was screaming at the department that Tramo should lose his job. Now, the conservative writer, Rod Dreher, he's with the woman, writing, "God bless her. God bless this woman. What kind of monster must Mark Tramo be?" I think people seem to have imagined that the professor was giving Epstein advice about something very graphic and sexual. That notion is patently absurd. He was a professor of neurology and of music. He'd co authored articles on the effects of music on premature babies and giving them care. He'd received funding from Epstein to create a research institution for the study of music and the brain. The idea that he was assisting Epstein in sexual abuse of babies instead of just sharing an interesting fact related to his area of academic expertise, that strikes me as extremely far-fetched. Frankly, and I'm just going to say it, the idea that Epstein himself would have been interested in this knowledge for disgusting sexual reasons is also doubtful. He was convicted of sexually abusing teenage girls. There's no evidence he had a proclivity for babies. Nevertheless, since Tramo's communications with Epstein continued after the disgraced financier's 2008 incarceration for sexual misconduct, he's among the names of people considered to have associated with a known abuser. And in statements to the media, he denied having knowledge of Epstein's specific crime, saying he thought Epstein had been convicted of prostitution. He said, quote, "I myself had not heard anything about statutory rape or minors being involved. I never saw him with young girls. I never visited the island. I never flew in his plane. I was introduced to him by the Harvard provost. He donated several millions to Harvard and was dangling a lot more," end quote. It's unclear if UCL is taking any action against Tramo, though the university website did remove his profile page on its media list of designated field experts. UCLA did not immediately respond to my request for comment. In the meantime, Tramo told me via email he's been besieged with hate mail, including death threats. Now, Tramo, for what it's worth, asserts he did not have specific knowledge about the nature of Epstein's crimes, the details of which, we have to remember, were mostly unknown to the public until 2018, thanks to an expose in the Miami Herald. Massie, however, takes the view anyone associating with Epstein after 2018 is fair game. Take a look at that interview again.
If you were associating with Jeffrey Epstein after 2008, you were associating with a known convicted sex offender who had wild parties. He's not the most savory character. We found from the audio with Ehud Barak, he was kind of a fixer. And I'm sorry if that hurts your reputation. Maybe you should have thought of that before you associated with a convicted sex offender.
Is that fair? You be the judge. So we have to remember there is this period of time from 2008 to 2018. Yes, Jeffrey Epstein is convicted of sexual crimes, but we're now using, I think, a little bit of hindsight. He did not become a household name. We did not all know who he was and what exactly he had done for the most part until 2018. And I think we're a little bit using today's level of knowledge and insight into how depraved he was and casting some level of judgment on people who might not have had reason to know. And this was a good example of this, because people are screaming at this man that email indicates he was advising Epstein on how to sexually abuse babies. Come on now.
Well, I don't know. It's disgusting to think about.
Obviously,
I think morally for Tramo, unfortunately, you make a decision to spend time or email with or collect money from somebody who is convicted of solicitation of prostitution, but not only prostitution of minors in 2008. If I'm collecting a lot of money from somebody like that, I certainly would see their background, who I'm taking money from, and understand that. So his relationship was a little bit different, since he wanted him to fully fund, you said, his research, and I'm just taking your word for it because I don't know that much about Tramo. But if that's the case, I think he, out of all people, it's not like a friend like you and I go get a drink and I need to know your whole history. No, we're getting a drink. This is somebody who you plan to do business with. So generally, in a business sense, I know pretty much who I'm going to do business with, whether it's huge companies, small companies, or a person. So I'm not going to pretend like because the world didn't know that the person doing business didn't know. I do think that, there's this huge thing about what we're seeing Congress doing right now with Epstein files, about how much emphasis they're putting into it, about seeing what Ro Khanna is saying and listening to the conversations that they're having and criticizing Pam Bondi. And I think that it's warranted. When I watched them speak yesterday after the hearing about what they felt, they were really just trying to say that they are not doing this for political theater, and I genuinely believe them. I believe that Massie is actually speaking to the victims and trying to figure out what's up. And I think that he's looking at all administrations, which is what I appreciate. Pam Bondi kept asking, "Why are you skipping over Merrick Garland? Why are you skipping over Obama's administration and other people besides me?" And he was like, "I don't care how far this goes."
Right. That's ridiculous. She's trying to just
I don't think so.
move blame elsewhere. No, I'm
Oh,
saying
Pam Bondi. Oh,
yeah.
I was like,
No,
yeah.
no, I'm not.
So-
I'm not
and I know
defending
we're going
Pam
to talk
Bondi at
about
all
this
because
more
we're
later,
gonna
but
talk about it more later.
but I just really feel like their intentions are pure. So no matter, because I know a lot of your passion about this has become that people are just making a big to do out of it. People who weren't largely interested in this a while ago are now interested in it, not only because Trump's name or Clinton's name comes up, but because now I know way more about it. I wasn't invested in the story; it wasn't my beat. But now that I'm in it and seeing what's going on, it's like, well, this does feel like there's a lot going on here. When you're seeing names on a document attached to, potential, this is a lot going on here. We're going to talk about it a lot more.
I've learned. I mean, I've learned more too, but it's led me to different conclusions. I go, well, wait a minute. This wasn't exactly what I thought. But we're going to talk more about Pam Bondi's grilling later in the show. Next up, FTC Chair Andrew Ferguson is warning Apple CEO Tim Cook that his company may be breaking the law. We'll tell you how next.